All right, class, today we're going to start Unit 7, and we're going to do Section 1, and we're going to talk about factors and greatest common factor. And you do not have a template for today's lesson, so go ahead and get a piece of paper out. Now, this lesson should be review. You did this when you were in elementary school until we start getting with the variables, okay? So that's why I want you to use your own paper. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this lesson. So let's look at this first one here. So if we have the number 60 and we want to find the prime factors, remember factor tree? Where I can take 2 times 30. 2 is prime. Remember what prime means? Prime is when you have 2 factors only, and then composite. Is more than 2 factors. Okay, so for 2, I have 2 times 1, therefore there's only 2 factors and it is prime. So for 30, it's not prime because it's composite, because I can take 1 times 30, 2 times 15, and so on, alright? So let's break down the 30. I can take 2 times 15. 2 is prime, 15 is not. Let's take 15, break it down to 3 and 5. So for 60, my prime numbers are 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. Okay? And you can write that as 2 squared 3 times 5. So these are my prime factors for the number 60. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to find the greatest common factor between 100 and 60. Well, we've already done 60 to try to save on time, so let's look at 100. So let's try to find our prime factor. There's 2 ways you can do this. It's finding your prime factors with the factor tree. So I know 10 times 10 are factors of 100. They are both composite. So if I break them down, I have 2 times 5 and 2 times 5. These are prime numbers, so for 100, I get 2 squared times 5 squared for my prime numbers. And then for 60, actually, let me write it over here. For 60, we had 2 squared times 3 times 5. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the greatest common factor. Doesn't necessarily have to be prime, it's the greatest common factor. So what do they have in common? They have 2 squared, which is 4, and then they have 2 5s here and 1 5 here, so they also have a 5 in common. So the greatest common factor here is 20. Y'all remember doing this? Okay, let me show you another way we can do this. I don't really like doing the factor tree. This is the way I like to do it. Okay, so let's take 100, and let's find our factors of 100. They don't have to be prime. So I know I have 1 times 100. I have 2 times 50. 3 does not go into 100, but 4 times 25 does. 5 times 20. Okay, so there are all my factors for 100. Now let's look at 60. 1 times 60. 2 times 30. 3 times 20. And 4 times 15. So, we are looking for our greatest common factor, so I'm going to start over here. Do I have 60? No. 30? No. 20. So the greatest common factor between 100 and 60 is 20. So you can do it using factor tree, or you can do it by just writing their factors and finding the greatest common factor. Okay, let's throw some algebra in this. We're going to find the greatest common factor with 3x cubed and 6x cubed. Okay, so let's look at 3x cubed. That's 3 times x times x times x. 6x cubed would be 2 times, move back up. 2 times 3 times x times x. Okay, so what do they have in common? They have a 3, they have an x, and they have an x. So 3x squared is the greatest common factor between 3x cubed and 6x squared. Now, I'm not for sure if you've worked with this before. Let's do two more, and that'll be it for your lesson, and you can come in class tomorrow and practice it. 15x cubed and 9x squared. Okay, so let's take 15x cubed, and that is 3 times 5, and then I have x times x times x. 9x squared, 3 times 3, x times x. So what do they have in common? They have 3x squared as their greatest common factor. All right, one more. Sometimes when you break down your factors for these monomials, okay, so we have 4x squared, which is 2 times 2 times x times x. And we have 5y cubed, which is 5 times y times y times y. Okay, do they have any coefficients that are alike? Nope. Do they have any variables that are alike? They do not. So, the greatest common factor between 4x squared and 5y cubed is 1. Because 1 is a factor of all of them. So if they have nothing that is in common, the greatest common factor is going to be 1. That's it for tonight's lesson.